So, can you talk a little bit about how customized your solar solution for individual homes and businesses are, and walk me through your basic process for how you customize them and tailor it to homeowner and property owners?
Yeah, of course, I'd love to. So our installations are 100% customized to each specific installation. So how we do that and why we do that is we obviously want the most efficient installation possible. Generally, the best payback period is trying to hit that 100% max production in comparison to your consumption. So we're kind of aiming to hit that maximum. If we're not tailoring it, exactly, then we could be leaving money on the table for our customers. So obviously we take the roof into consideration, all the aspects and where the highest radiance areas are. That's shown in our software. We use the most advanced software tools in the industry to find that out. That is then based, the size of the system is based on your previous consumption, generally the 12-month consumption. And then once we've designed the system and matched it up to your consumption, we can tell where your production is going to be through the year, which allows us to kind of point you towards other options for billing using a solar club or something like that, where you can actually sell your green energy at a premium through the summer to really bring that payback period down.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I like the idea of like the advanced software tools, and 110 or 100, sorry,
Yeah, it's laid out in the Alberta in the Utilities Commission that 100% is the max. So that's kind of what we aim for.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Is there any ways that when you look at a new job, when you like get a quote from a customer, what are the first things you look at for making sure that you're able to customize installation for a customer?
Yeah, I mean, the main things that we're looking at for the custom solution is the roof. The roof is one of the most important aspects of the job and whether solar is even going to be a candidate for you. Also on that, not necessarily the shape of the roof, but is there any shading? Are there lots of penetrations? I'm seeing quite a lot in the new areas where they're built on a zero lot line and they don't have a vented soffit. So they have a lot of soffit vents, or not soffit vents, but roof intake vents on the top of the roof. That's going to limit the amount of area that we have to install on. Obviously, these can't be moved because they've been inspected by a building code or building inspector. So we do have to work around these. Any shading from trees, etc., other buildings, future shading as well. So there's some areas where we're working, Inglewood, we're doing a job in Inglewood, where the homeowner is on 9th Ave and 10th Ave. Potentially there could be a 5-story building there built at some point. So instead of installing on the garage, which would be nearer the 5-story building and potentially add a lot of shading in the future, we kept it to the house. A little bit of a smaller array, but we're kind of future-proofing against that potential shading.
Yeah, that's a really interesting concept because future shading is huge, right? If you're doing such a long-term kind of investment for the next 10, 20, 30 years, yeah, future shading is huge. It's a concept I don't really hear too much in the solar industry as well.
Yeah, and I think it's going to become more prevalent with Calgary's new rezoning. So there's a lot of areas where, and it seems like the primary areas where people are going to take advantage of the new zoning, the blanket zoning, are going to be areas that have bungalows, and then they're going to be turning into a 2.5, 3-story dwelling next door. We did look at one, same situation, where they had a bungalow and they had just approved, or they were approving an RC Go, I think it was, grade orientated, which could put 10 units on that lot, a 3-story or 2-story or 3-story. So that would, he would put a significant amount of money into our installation, and then in 5 years' time, it's going to be 50% more shade. So we've got to be thinking about what's happening in the future on the neighbors as well.
Yeah, that's critical. Yeah, 50% shade is such a huge
big jump.
issue. Yeah, definitely. So it's really interesting. My last question, you mentioned zero lot lines, and I've heard that quite a bit, especially in the subdivision kind of areas. How does that kind of affect the process? Does it make it more difficult for designing and installing, or is it, what's your thought process around that?
Yeah, great question. So it can be good and bad at the same time. So it makes the installation generally a little bit more costly than, say, a bungalow, because the zero lot lines for the most part are going to be a 2-story, 2.5-story. Whereas, say, a bungalow is going to be an easier access, so it's going to be a quicker install. So obviously the labor costs are going to be cheaper on a bungalow that's not zero lot line to a 2-story that's a zero lot line. Not necessarily the zero lot line that is the issue, but it's the kind of house that they build on those lots. Second, as well, it can add a little bit more difficulty in getting materials up. You've got less access points. Sometimes the houses are quite close together, so taking the material up the side of the house isn't always feasible with how steep the ladder would be and how much clearance you have between your house you're working on and the neighbor.